It opened easily, and without so much as a pause, she walked in. Junpei and Ace followed. The first thing they saw was a man on the floor covered in blood. Junpei felt his body seize up. His mouth went dry and he felt very, very cold. The blood in his veins slowed to a crawl, and his heart tightened like a fist. This was the third time he had seen the horror of death laid out before him. He didn't think it was something he could stand to see much more of. Still, he had begun to accept that whatever it was that he saw, whatever happened to him, was beyond his control. And whatever force controlled him was driven by a determination that he could not hope to match. A sense of helplessness, of desperation, washed over him. It left behind a feeling of utter emptiness that wormed its way through his body like acid. Then he realized they had yet to check the man's pulse. Perhaps he was still alive. Fueled by that spark of hope, Junpei ran to the man's body, and his heart fell. His fingers on the man's neck felt no pulse. His pupils had dilated, and he wasn't breathing. He's also wearing a numbered watch. Junpei lifted the man's already stiff body. There was a deep red wound on his chest. Junpei did not have to wonder long at what could have made such a wound. Dang. For lying next to the corpse was an axe. The entire blade of it was drenched in bright red blood. From the shape of the man's wounds, there could be no doubt that it had been made by the axe. Junpei looked at the body again. A lake of blood stretched out around it. It was wearing the clothes of a ship's captain, although they were stained with blood. Yes, we'll get it, there's blood. There's a lot of blood, just all over the room, all over the man's body. A captain. Did that mean that this man was Zero? On his left hand was a bracelet. The number on the bracelet was 0. It was only then that Junpei noticed the stench of blood that filled the room. He couldn't help but laugh. There was nothing else for him to say. It was too simple, too obvious, too straightforward. If there hadn't been a dead man on the floor, Junpei might have thought it a joke. Well, alright then. Jeez. Yes, we get it, there's blood. There's a lot of blood. This camcorder. The doors are very interesting, shut up. Plaque on the door, but it doesn't say anything. Of course it doesn't. See, blood's here too. Blood on the chair. Do you think this was the dead guys? Yeah, probably. You kids want to see a dead body? Oh, we're not going to be able to see the dead body. Aw, you suck. Hello? Okay. Old school music box. It's a lamp. Just the mere fact that it doesn't turn on. That is the strange part about it. There's a bunch of weird buttons on here. Probably switch what you see on the screens. Do you know how to work this thing? Why don't we just press one of these? Like this one. Well, I guess it does change that. What is this? 0. Heh. Junpei snorted with grim humor for the second time since he'd come into the room. The 4 screens along the bottom had a single letter each, spelling out 0. Junpei felt as though he was being mocked. The real villain was somewhere laughing at him. What do you think? He turned to Clover, who was standing next to him. Her voice was almost too low to hear. Nothing. It seemed that she cared about little. Of course, Junpei could hardly blame her. Given the strain she was surely under, Junpei was somewhat surprised she had responded at all. Still, he had to ask. He gestured toward the corpse. What about him? Do you think that's really Zero? Clover shook her head weakly. There's no way that's him. Didn't I tell you already? Zero is one of us. Yeah, right. Well, even if he wasn't one of us, there's no way that man could be Zero. Don't you get it? The letters that spell Zero on the TV screen. The captain's clothes he got on. And of course, the bracelet with a 0 on it. It's too obvious. Look! Look! This is Zero right here. His dead body is Zero. Doesn't that seem kind of funny to you? You're right. Only an idiot wouldn't see through something like that. No, that's not the point. I'm not trying to make fun of them for thinking a trick like this would work. I'm sure they didn't think it would work, which makes me wonder, why did they do it? Because they got off. I think this is a challenge from the person who's really behind all of this. He's making fun of us. Don't you get it? If whoever killed this guy really wanted us to think this corpse was Zero, they'd never have put a bracelet on him. Walking about with a 0 bracelet would be like hanging a sign around your neck that said, I did it. Anyone with a brain would be able to see that this guy is supposed to look like everything Zero is supposed to be. Just like we did. The killer must have known we wouldn't think he was Zero, and put the bracelet on him anyway. Do you know why? Why? Like I said, he's mocking us. He thinks we're stupid. Too bad, suckers. This isn't Zero. This is Zero. It's the same bad joke a lot of criminals like to play. They'll just sit back and watch people run in circles. Look, here I am. What's wrong, guys? Come on, catch me if you can. That's really twisted. But it almost seems kind of childish. Yeah, you're right. It's really childish. It's like it's just a game to whoever this person is. That's what seems funny to me. Junpei bent down next to the corpse. Alright, let's get back to the point. Who killed this man? I don't know. And what's this guy's deal? Who is he? How would I know that? If I knew anything, I would have told you. You have no idea who he is. Why would I? Junpei sat back on his haunches and thought. We should check and see if he's got anything on him that might tell us who he is. Give me a hand here, Clover. What? You gotta flip him over. How else are we gonna search his pockets? Where's Ace? Clover didn't move. Junpei had no choice but to move the body on his own. He grabbed hold of an area not completely covered in blood and shoved. Ew, blood. I don't want to touch it. It took a moment, but eventually Junpei felt the man's bulk begin to shift. But just as it did, something fell. The man's intestines, for the man's left wrist. Oh. The bracelet was 0 on the face. Lastly, let us discuss how to remove the bracelets. There are only 2 ways to do so. 1, you escape from the ship. 2, your heart reaches 0. In other words, once a bracelet is taken outside the confines of the ship, or detects that its wearer's heartbeat has fallen to 0, it will shut down automatically. Junpei stared at the bracelet. This man, he's dead, isn't he? No, it's just... I guess I didn't really think about it until now. If his bracelet's off, that means he's dead. Well, it's pretty obvious that he's dead. You don't really need to look at his bracelet to figure out that he's dead. Yeah, I guess you're right. It is pretty obvious. He looks a lot better than the other bodies we've seen, though, you know? I mean, if there wasn't all this blood, he'd almost look like he was still alive. Man, that's kind of dark to say to her. I mean, I know it's kind of a messed up thing to say, but kinda isn't better, you know? Dying from a bomb going off inside you, I mean, that's just Some of Snake's bones went right through his skin. Junpei, calm down. Sounds like you're getting a rise off this. I think the explosion must have thrown him against a wall or something. There's a broken bone just sticking out of his left arm. Suddenly, Junpei realized what he was saying. How could he have been so cruel? He clapped his hands over his mouth. Yeah, you're stupid. Oh my god, you're stupid. It was already too late. He turned to look at Clover. She was glaring at him furiously. What did you just say? Her word sounded cold. He knew an apology could hardly atone for what he'd done, but he tried anyway. Oh man, I am so sorry. I shouldn't have said that. I really don't know what I was thinking. I mean, no, that's not what I'm talking about. What did you say about his arm? Arm? Yes, his left arm. You said it, didn't you? Well, yeah, I did, but, I mean, didn't you see it too? Of course not. I could barely look at him. Clover took a quick, deep breath. Are you sure it was his left arm? Junpei thought back. We can't say anything. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. And he had a broken bone, right? What are you getting at here? Just shut up and answer me. She shoved her face closer to his. He could see the fire in her eyes. Junpei winced and swallowed. Yeah, he did. It was pretty bad, too. The bone was sticking out of the arm. No sooner were the words out of his mouth than Clover's expression changed. Suddenly, she was crying. Junpei wasn't sure what to do. Thank you. It was close to the last thing he had expected to hear. Junpei had no idea what had just happened. He didn't think he'd done anything worthy of thanks, and he couldn't understand why she would have chosen that moment to begin crying. So he simply stood there, confused. Thank you, Junpei. She thanked him again, and then something even stranger happened. She made out with him. I mean, what? Clover threw herself into Junpei's surprised arms. Hey, what's going on with you? I'm sorry, it's just, I'm so happy. Why? The body in the shower room. It isn't his. It isn't my brother. It's not Snake. Why on earth would you think that? Because his left arm is... She stopped herself. I'm sorry. I really shouldn't be talking about this. Junpei decided it would be prudent not to press her for any more information. If she did not wish to tell him, she certainly had no reason for doing so. Perhaps more importantly, however, if Clover was so certain, then she was likely right. That meant the body in the shower room wasn't Snake. It wasn't much, but that knowledge lifted some of the weight from Junpei's heart. He's still alive. I'm so happy. Tears shone in her eyes. Those tears melted Junpei's heart. As she cried, he started to cry. She had pushed herself up against his chest, like a child. Junpei put his arms around her and held her tight. Junpei, you were right. No matter what happens, you can never lose hope. You have to remember what's most important, and that's to have faith, and to have love. If you can remember all of those, that'll bring you good luck. Clover reached into her pocket and pulled something out. It was a laminated bookmark with a 4-leaf clover. I only made it here because you gave me this one. I was suspicious of everybody, and I was angry and miserable. But because I had this 4-leaf clover, because of what you said to me, Junpei hadn't thought his words would have had such an effect on her. Her words were making him feel a little awkward. Thank you so much, Junpei. She looked up at him. He scratched his nose and pretended to notice something interesting somewhere else in the room. If you really want to thank somebody, you should be thanking Santa. Santa? Why? Well, he was the one who gave me that thing. And the words for each leaf. I got that from him too. Then suddenly, Clover broke away from Junpei. He looked confused. He hadn't thought she'd react that poorly. Clover began to pace across the room. 6 steps to the left, 6 steps to the right, another 6 to the left, and then she stopped. Didn't Santa really tell you those things? Her eyes were serious, but not angry. Yeah, he did. Did I, say something wrong? Oh no, not at all. In fact, this could be really good news, I think. You think? Santa knew about the words in the clover. The only people who should know about that are the other subjects. Subjects? The other people who were in the experiment 9 years ago with my brother and me. But he's blind. That was part of the Nevada test group. So neither of us would be able to recognize the faces of the people who were in this boat. Whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. Time out. Junpei held up his hands. He took a deep breath and let it out. Let's just calm down for a second, okay? Start from the top. Don't start with the end and then jump to the middle. You gotta start at 1, and then move to 2, and then 3, and 4, and so on. If you don't tell me stuff in the right order, I'm never gonna be able to figure it out. Clover nodded. Alright, let's start with this experiment. What happened on this boat 9 years ago? Do you know about morphogenetic fields? Well, yes, I was told about it. He did, and the realization sent chills down Junpei's spine. Alright, how about this? Theory of the telepathic mechanism. Junpei recounted what Totus had told him earlier. Clover nodded. Telepathy, huh? Well, that's not really it, but I suppose it's similar. So they were testing telepathy on the ship. Yeah, I guess so. So what exactly did they have you guys do? The same thing that we're doing now. Exactly the same thing. What? The nonary game. 9 people were put on this boat and 9 others were put in the building in Nevada, and the game started. Junpei grabbed the sides of his head. Look, I'm sorry, but I don't get it. What did the nonary game and some telepathy experiment have to do with each other? Clover bit her lip. She blinked back sudden tears. What had happened to her in Nevada? The ability to access morphogenetic fields affected by a couple of things. The first is epiphany, and the other is danger. You know how sometimes when you're up against a really tough problem, and then the answer just kind of pops into your head? That's an epiphany. And what you learn from the epiphany can be transmitted with telepathy. When you add danger to that equation, then it gets easier to transmit that information over telepathy. I know a little bit about this stuff. It was covered in VLR. So you're saying that nonary game was supposed to introduce that element of danger? Yeah, but it couldn't be just any old danger. It had to be life and death. And someone did actually die. A girl. Junpei felt the sudden grip of despair on his heart. Something deep and distant and powerful squeezed. And for a moment he felt very, very empty and alone. She was on the boat with my brother. I was in Nevada, so I never met her, but I did hear her name. Her name was, Ace? We really need to put a bell on him. The sound of the door opening was like a gunshot. Junpei spun around. We need to put a bell on you, boy. Oh, my apologies. I seem to have disturbed you. Ace, you two must have strong stomachs. I can't imagine how you could stay in this room for so long. Ace glanced down at the floor, at the corpse covered in blood. At any rate, Junpei, would you be so kind as to come and help me with something? You keep asking me this. Are you going to shove your fist into my pockets again? I'm having a little trouble and I could really use your assistance. Come on, it'll only take a moment. With that, he turned and walked back toward the communications office. Clover waited until he was out of sight and spoke in a small, quiet voice. I don't want Ace to hear us. We can talk about this later. Huh? Hey, wait. Clover ignored him. From outside, Junpei could hear Ace calling. Junpei, what are you doing in there? Hurry up. Grumbling to himself, Junpei stomped off toward the communications office. Yeah, we really need to put a bell on him. I mean, geez. Think you would have the common decency to, like, knock or something? I don't know. Shove your hand into my pockets? We ain't that close, dude. We can stop that. Ugh.